The observation deck of the Meridian Station offered an unparalleled view of the Kepler nexus, where three civilizations had finally agreed to meet for the first interspecies scientific exchange. Dr. Isabella Reeves stood at the transparent aluminum viewport, her reflection ghosting over the swirling nebula beyond, trying to steady her nerves. "You're doing it again," Marcus Chen said, appearing at her shoulder with 2 cups of station coffee. He handed her one with a knowing smile. "Doing what?" "That thing where you memorize every detail before a first contact. Relax, Izzy. We've trained for this." Isabella took the coffee gratefully. As the lead xenobiologist of humanity's delegation, she'd spent 3 years preparing for this moment. The Confederation had finally invited humans to participate in the Grand Archive Project, a collective repository of biological knowledge spanning a dozen sentient species. It was humanity's chance to prove they belonged among the stars. The door chimed. Marcus straightened his uniform. "Showtime." The Jurel entered first, tall, crystalline beings that refracted light into rainbow patterns across their bodies. Behind them glided something that made Isabella's breath catch. The alien was roughly humanoid in shape, but covered entirely in a translucent, gel-like membrane that seemed to flow continuously over her form. Water droplets, or what passed for water, beaded and rolled across her surface in defiance of gravity. Her face, if it could be called that, shifted subtly behind the liquid veil, features appearing and disappearing like reflections in a disturbed pond. "Dr. Reeves, Dr. Chen," the Jrel ambassador chimed, their voice like wind through glass. "May we present researcher Shallan of the Aquarian Collective." The wet alien moved forward with an unsettling grace, leaving no trail despite appearing perpetually drenched. Isabella tried not to stare, tried to remember her xenocultural sensitivity training, tried to— "You keep staring at my membrane," Shallan said, her voice bubbling up from somewhere within her liquid exterior. "This is the 3rd time in as many minutes your eyes have traced my surface tension." Isabella felt heat rise to her cheeks. "I apologize, researcher Shallan. I didn't mean to cause offense." "Offense?" The alien tilted her head, causing a small wave to cascade down her shoulder. "I am not offended. I am merely curious. Your species transmitted detailed biological data before this meeting. I studied your proprioceptive limitations, your rigid exoskeleton of skin, your dependence on visual confirmation for spatial understanding." She moved closer. "Stop staring. If you want to understand, touch it." The silence in the room was absolute. Marcus cleared his throat. "I don't think that's—" "No, wait," Isabella said, her scientific curiosity overriding her social embarrassment. She looked at Shallan directly. "You're serious? This isn't a cultural taboo?" "Taboo?" Shallan's form rippled with what might have been amusement. "Humans are peculiar. You explore space but fear simple physical contact. The Jurel told me your species has entire protocols about personal boundaries." The last words were pronounced carefully, as if foreign. "My people communicate through current, through flow, through touch. Your staring without contact is what we would consider inappropriate." Isabella glanced at Marcus, who shrugged with a "this is your specialty" expression. Taking a breath, she extended her hand. The moment her fingers made contact with Shallan's membrane, Isabella gasped. It wasn't wet. Not exactly. The sensation was something between touching water and touching silk. A cool, flowing presence that seemed to respond to her touch. Information flooded her mind. Temperature, salinity, bioelectrical patterns. It was like reading a book written in sensation. "Extraordinary," Isabella whispered. "You're not just covered in liquid. You are the liquid. Your consciousness exists in the colloidal matrix itself." "Now she understands," Shallan said, and her entire form brightened subtly. This is why we requested humans for the archive project. The Jurel experienced the universe through resonance, the Cathari through chemical gradient, the Venn through quantum probability. But humans— She paused, her membranes swirling with deliberate patterns. Humans adapt. You have rigid biology but flexible minds. You understand through experience, not just observation. Marcus stepped forward. May I? Shallan gestured affirmatively, and Marcus placed his hand against her membrane. His eyes widened immediately. There's data here, he said, his voice filled with wonder. Encoded in the current flows. You're sharing your research directly through touch. The archive is not merely a database, Shallan explained. It is experiential. Each species contributes not just information, but understanding, the way they perceive that information. Humans were rejected twice before because other species believed you too primitive, too locked in visual tactile processing. Her form seemed to lean toward them. But I studied your history. Your species evolved by touching fire, tasting plants, feeling tools in your hands. You learned to survive through direct physical engagement with your environment. Isabella felt a surge of pride. This was it, the HFY moment, when humanity proved their worth not by being the strongest or most advanced, but by being uniquely adaptable. The Jurel can observe stellar phenomena through crystalline resonance, Shallan continued, but they cannot touch a patient with fever and know the illness by the heat pattern. The Cathari can analyze chemical compositions from kilometers away, but they cannot feel the texture of stone and know its age. Humans. Her membrane pulsed. Humans bridge the gap. You are the translators between our modalities of experience. Marcus grinned at Isabella. We're the universal adapters of the galaxy. More than that, Shallan said softly. You are the teachers, because you had to learn everything through direct interaction with a harsh world. You developed the rare gift of explaining experience to others. She extended what might have been a limb. Will you join the archive? Will you teach us how you perceive? Isabella didn't hesitate. She placed both hands against Shallan's membrane, feeling the flow of data, the electric pulse of alien thought. We'd be honored. As the three species began their work, Isabella understood something fundamental. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology, or their aggression, or their stubbornness. It was their willingness to reach out and touch the unknown, to understand not just by looking, but by engaging, by experiencing, by bridging the vast gaps between different ways of knowing. They were the species that turned staring into touching, observation into understanding. They were finally welcome among the stars.